let me come to Karnika over here on this, that the draft guidelines don't say much of anything. I mean, these are going to be fairly easy to flout, will they? Because you need to get parental consent to, build an account. A lot of kids are already doing that. Even the official social media rules are more restrictive than the access kids actually have. What do you make of that?
Well, when it comes to child protection on the internet, there is building cyber awareness and empowerment around even in terms of schools or educational institutions, and the regulators, the policymakers, when they look at this area. We are all deeply concerned with it, and that's the reason why data protection and child protection was very, very important area, and the DPDP law as well, and the new rules which have come about, the draft rules. Now, when it comes to implementation, there is definitely a challenge. There is to be a verifiable consent from a parent. So, for example, if a child wants to open a social media account, the parent of the child has to give a consent in writing, that is, an express consent. And if that is not done, then the child cannot open a social media account. While the provision per se is good. However, the implementation is a challenge, because what happens if a child does not disclose his true age? What happens in that scenario? How do we protect the children's vulnerability on the web in such a scenario? So these are certain implementation challenges. But from that, you can't penalize a child. What if a child gives wrong information about his age and flouts the law? Then what happens in that scenario? So these are some challenges which we are facing in terms of policy in India, and we're looking at how we can navigate this space. In general, when it comes to the web and interface with the web, it is important to have this as a tool, because you do research, there is education, training through these platforms and internet. However, there has to be a regulation. While we can put in place filters and monitor the screen time, for instance, and put in other softwares to ensure they don't have access to adult content, for example, or anything which is harmful to minors. This social media account opening itself is a great challenge, because right now we can't ask the child to give his ID. And it's really a child doesn't have a competence to contract validly. In terms of law, he cannot contract. The capacity to contract is not there. So these are certain implementation challenges we're trying to look at and find a way of how we can ensure safety of children in the social media space as well, be it gaming or in fact any other e-commerce platform.
So the laws are there in place. Implementation, of course, is an issue. The fact is that the world is facing this challenge.